Well, still on Iraq, Kim Beazley has used a new intelligence estimate out of the United States to justify his promise that on day one, a Labor government will order a pull-out of all Australian troops from Iraq, except those needed to protect Australian diplomats. Now, how do you justify that, given what happened to Mark Latham? He was carved up by John Howard when he made a similar promise.
Well, what we are saying by way of our policy on security assistance to Iraq is that the current form of that security assistance is no longer appropriate. We believe there are other ways of doing it. One of the clear ways in which we can assist is by enhancing the border security arrangements for the Iraqi government. We think we can do that by providing advanced training programs through Amman in Jordan to assist in helping Iraq plug the holes in their highly porous borders right around their borders with Iran, with Saudi, with Jordan and with Syria. These are highly porous borders through which jihadists are regularly flowing, and we think a practical form of security assistance lies in that area rather than in the way in which it's currently being done.
But how can Labor use this intelligence assessment to justify a policy of pulling out troops when it says, for example, perceived jihadist success in Iraq would inspire more fighters to continue the struggle elsewhere? That's a powerful argument for staying and finishing the job, isn't it?
It's a powerful argument for getting the overall political, diplomatic and security strategy for Iraq right. I mean, the other powerful element of the report you've just referred to, this National Intelligence Estimate from the United States, goes to point out that the fact of the Iraq War, the fact of the invasion itself and the subsequent occupation and the way it's currently being conducted has led to an increase in the overall jihadist terrorist threat worldwide. And when it comes to Mr. Howard's statement justifying Australia going into the war in the first place, he said that we needed to invade Iraq in order to reduce the overall global terrorist threat. Now he finds this uncomfortable political truth emerging out of our American ally itself. 16 intelligence agencies brought together in the formal National Intelligence Estimate of the United States saying this invasion and occupation of Iraq has had the effect of increasing the overall jihadist threat, causing Iraq to become a cause célèbre for jihadists worldwide. It's time Mr. Howard addressed the truth of this national security fiasco rather than running 100 miles away from it.
But these same 16 agencies that you just praised also said, should jihadists leaving Iraq perceive themselves and be perceived to have failed, we judge fewer fighters will be inspired to carry on the fight. Another powerful argument for staying in Iraq and beating them, isn't it? And yet Mr. Beazley not only argues for Australia to pull out, but also America.
There are ways in which we can fight this current problem in Iraq which are different and better than that which is currently being done. I've said before that when it comes to the immediate security threat from jihadists, so many of these jihadists are flooding in across Iraq's borders with both Saudi and Iran. When I was in Iraq myself, Ambassador Bremer, who was then in charge of the Coalition Provisional Authority, had me in his office pointing out where in fact the arrival routes were for the jihadists. So we say, how do we assist the Iraqis with that? Training and technology systems to enhance their border control technology and performance right around their very long land borders. But there's another element to this as well. Part of all this lies in winning the battle for hearts and minds within Iraq itself. And our policy has been we need to up hugely our level of economic and humanitarian assistance to the Iraqi people. One of our policies has been to provide funding to assist in the construction of a proper oncology hospital in Baghdad, where the people suffer hugely from high rates of cancer because of uranium and uranium-related problems arising from the previous Iraq War. For those sorts of reasons, we think humanitarian assistance, economic assistance, and a different form of security assistance is the way to go.
One quick final issue. Sunday has a story today about Chinese attempts to get hold of the metal storm technology, advanced weapon technology invented in Australia. Should the government be taking action, strong action, to stop that?
I haven't seen the full report on this, but I am concerned when you've got advanced military technologies like this that you can't just dismiss it as some sort of laughing matter. I understand, for example, that the Defence Minister, Brendan Nelson, simply regards this as a trade policy matter. Well, not for us. We think when you come to sell military technologies of whatever category, this is a matter for national security as well. And I'm sure Robert McClelland, our Shadow Minister for Defence, will be joining me in calling on Mr Nelson to conduct a full and proper investigation as to how this military technology can be best protected and what attempts have been made to secure it improperly. This is an important matter of national security. You can't just sweep it side to side. This government, through the entire Iraq debacle, Laurie, has a history of mismanaging our national security interests. I'd hate to see this being a further example of the same.
Mr Rudd, we thank you.
Thanks very much, Laurie.
Back to you, Ross.
Thanks very much, Laurie. And that report on Metal Storm coming up shortly. Laurie Oakes speaking there with Labor's Kevin Rudd. We'll be back shortly for a chat with Laurie, and also we'll catch up with all the latest news and sport. That's after the break.
Being there first, breaking the news that matters to you, and leading the pack for the latest sport coverage. National 9 News. The Newsbreakers, nightly at 6.